listening to the Bruin Bible. This is your host, Will Decker, bringing you UCLA football content all throughout the year for LA Football Network.
What's up, Bruin Bible listeners? It's your host, Will Decker from the Bruin Bible. We're going to do another offshoot of the podcast, and we're going to do a nice special short to describe to you why I believe UCLA bringing back Chip Kelly is a win-win for not only Chip, but for the UCLA fan base as a whole. And let's go into the depth of it. When Chip Kelly first got to UCLA, the expectations were sky high. This was a guy that had changed the landscape of college football with his spread offense at Oregon, went to the NFL, had two back-to-back 10-win seasons for the Eagles, flamed out there after a 6-9 start with Philadelphia, eventually moved on from the Eagles to the San Francisco 49ers. That one even worse up in the Bay Area. And he tried to go back into college. You know, he interviewed for a job at Florida. The Florida position was open at that time. He went to UCLA, interviewed there. UCLA Bruins ultimately became the school that he represented when all was said and done in the coaching vacancy for Chip Kelly coming back to college football. So Chip comes to Westwood, and immediately, the first game, huge loss to Cincinnati, an opponent that has since gained notoriety, but it was such a bad program loss and a bad first look for Chip Kelly. You know, the team eventually went 0-5 to start that season. And by the time he got to 2020, he had been coaching 2018, 2019, got to 2020, he went 10-21, which was no one can defend that. The first 3 years were a disaster. Even if the 2020 season was COVID shortened, 10-21 is not good by any metrics you spent. However, our guy Chip Kelly, the last 2 years, he has kind of turned the tide. He's led UCLA to two bowl game selections. We had the Sun Bowl this past season, and we had, the Holiday Bowl in San Diego, which eventually got canceled due to a COVID outbreak at that time. So, we should have been playing in two college bowl games in back-to-back years. He was one off of, the program record of 10 wins this past year. Should have won the Sun Bowl. That was an embarrassment. I'm not going to defend that game. But if he wins that game like he should have, that's 10 wins. And we're moving in the right direction. This new deal, I think, is so team-friendly for Chip and the people around, as he's due to make $6.1 million in 2023 and 2024 through this extension, and he'll make $6.2 million in 25, 26, and 27 if selected. But the key part for this is the buyout. If Chip, refuses to change his ways, and we'll dive into a little bit more on that, the buyout for Chip Kelly after this year is $8.5 million. Not, exponentially more high than his, annual salary at UCLA if he's dismissed before December of 2023. And it's only $4.27 million if he's fired before December of 2024. After that, after December 2024, he's got 2 years under his belt at that point in the new contract extension. You can fire him without paying anything. So it's essentially a 2-year clause. He's going to have 2 years to prove himself in the final year of the Pac-12, which is loaded with top-tier talent, and the first year in the Big Ten, which for me is a more superior conference. And I think the reason you got to give him this extension are the following. The offensive mind. Yes, we know the defense is bad. Looking at the passing defense over the last 4 years, UCLA fans know me when I reference this. The passing defense, 119th. 103rd, 113th, and 129th. These are some of the passing yards allowed numbers over the last 4 of the 5 years that he's been at UCLA. It's been atrocious. And, scoring defense, they finished 99th, 108th, and 100th, in 3 of the last 4 years in terms of total points allowed. However, the offensive mind is unparalleled in college football. Maybe a few bigger names in there, but he's squarely in the mix of being one of the best offensive minds in all of college football. Total offense the last 3 years. This is the amount of yards your team accumulates. We were 5th in the entire country last year at number 5, and we were 16th the year prior. So 2 back-to-back top 20 offenses. Rushing yards per game. This is Chip's bread and butter, is generating a rush with just about anybody. We finished 5th in the entire country last year and 10th the year before. Oh, in the COVID year that we went 3-4, we were 12th in the entire country. So this is just in terms of rushing yards per game. Chip Kelly is a mastermind at offense and generating rushing yards. The offense is going to be there. And he needed to correct these 2 areas, which I think is a reason he's getting the extension. He needed to fix his recruiting, and he needed to fix the defense. Let's start with the recruiting first. He got Dante Moore, which is 24/7, ranked him the highest signal caller UCLA has ever gotten in their ranking composite era. This may be the most anticipated quarterback to step foot, in Westwood for UCLA since Troy Aikman transferred there back in the late 80s from Oklahoma. This is a big, big-time deal. This guy completed close to 70% of his passes in high school, 135 touchdowns and 20 interceptions, 11 of which came in his true freshman year. The kid can ball, and you saw in the Army All-American game, he did some special things there, won game MVP, 4 touchdown passes, blew away, some of the top talent. He was the one player you could not take your eyes off. So for that reason, Chip getting out there and getting a signal caller, a potential program-changing quarterback commit to UCLA, you got to let him see that through for the first 2 years. I think that is a big reason why we're continuing to have Chip Kelly at UCLA. We saw him show more face, too, in the recruiting world this past year. So Chip Kelly getting that 5-star Dante Moore, hopefully that leads to more high-level recruits coming. We got to keep him there for what he did in the recruiting world this past offseason. Another reason we have got to keep Chip Kelly in the fold is what he's been doing with the transfer portal. I had people in the UCLA circles who are Chip haters, and I get it. I get it. They were trying to tell us that this was the year that UCLA was going to fall off in the transfer portal, that we had been lucky to get the likes of a Charbonnet, Malatu, 2 franchise-changing, program-changing recruits to come back in through the transfer portal for UCLA. And you look at what they were able to do, where there was, J. Michael Sturdivant, one of the top receivers out there, Kyle Ford coming from USC, Oluwafemi Oladejo, the linebacker from Cal that could have gone to a lot of different places. A lot of different teams would have liked those services. Keanu Williams transferring down from Oregon. Moliki Matavao, coming down from Oregon, a tight end, a talented one at that. Carlson Steele, maybe the most productive running back in the portal coming to UCLA. Spencer Holstege. This guy continues to get top-tier talent in the transfer portal. And I would put him as one of the top 5 coaches in terms of securing transfer portal talent. And if you look at all the other probably transfer portal coaches that are in there, the likes of a USC with Lincoln Riley, the likes of, Texas, Oklahoma, some of these bigger name schools, the big portion with these guys is they're getting transfer portal talent as, traditional blue blood college football teams. And as much as I love UCLA, those programs' histories trump UCLA. I don't think anyone would even argue that. So the fact that we're doing this with a program that is not considered among the elite, even though I do think we can get there, I think that speaks to what Chip Kelly brings to the program there. And finally, I think the reason that we're willing to take on Chip Kelly in this manner is because he has finally taken the steps to strengthen the defense. I mentioned earlier, the passing defense and, points allowed. He goes out and hires a DeAnton Lynn, a divergent path to what the defense has been under the likes of a Jerry Azzinaro and a Bill McGovern. We liked Bill McGovern a little bit more than Azzinaro, but McGovern was basically the mentor of Azzinaro when it came to the defense. They coached together. McGovern kind of raised Azzinaro within the system. So it was a very similar system. Not much had changed. Getting DeAnton Lynn, a young, coach that is willing to go out of his way and mold the defense and make the necessary adjustments in a talented secondary group with Jalen Davies, Devin Kirkwood, Jordan Anderson, a very solid Division I starter, a Kamari Ramsey, and RJ Jones. These are talented guys. There's no reason this secondary should be this bad. So getting a coach that allows them to be the best that they can be and coach them up in the right ways, I think it's going to make a difference. And then Cody Whitfield coming down as a secondary coach. Sacramento State had a very solid, defensive back unit that Whitfield had overseen as, the coach for Sacramento State. I think the combination of Lynn and Whitfield, bringing those mindsets to the secondary room is going to be such a game changer for UCLA. So when you couple the fact he's stepping up in recruiting, which has been a problem for Chip over the years, the transfer portal is what it is. He's one of the best around in that. And his willingness to change the defense, guys, with how this contract is structured, we got to give him at least 2 more years. If he is still in a similar position in 2 more years, you guys can throw the book at him, lock him out without the key, throw it away. I'm willing to fire Chip in 2 years if we're in the similar spot. But I do think this program is ascending in a way that we have to keep Chip Kelly around. UCLA Bruins fans, please comment, please subscribe, please like. I'm willing to do, as many different things and different content as we can to help push LAFB over the top. Please let me know what I can do. Bruin Bible, we are out.